Hi everybody, it's Lori here today with my reading wrap up for the month of January. I was able to read 5 books and I did start a book from my February TBR early because if you watched that, if not, go back and check out what I'm reading next month or this current month for February. If you remember, I pulled The Will of the Many. I did take the dust jacket off of this. I am a little bit over 80% of the way through, which is good. And ding, ding, ding. I was really intimidated by the size of this book and the denseness of this, the world building. I was a little intimidated, but I know a lot of people have loved it, which was very good for me. And so I have continued on. I really enjoy it, but if you are starting this and you're a little like, what? This is a lot. Give it some time to unfold. But anyway, so I did start that early. So I did get 5 books done in the month of January. So let's jump in. The first one, I read 2 out of a series. I think it's going to be a trilogy. I don't believe the third one has been announced. But the second book ended in a way that I'm thinking there might be another one coming. So fingers crossed. I did enjoy it. Let's talk about them. The first one here was Chasing the Boogeyman, and the second is Becoming the Boogeyman, here by Richard Chismar. These are a thriller style written as though it is true crime. So the author himself does put himself into this story. So it's almost as if you're living in his town and seeing the events unfold through his eyes. He inserts himself in the story. He's the main character here in terms of chronicling all of the events that happen and lead up to these murders in his town. And he eventually writes a book about these murders. I think he writes another book about his town, but it's very, very interesting in terms of that because I found myself really being sucked in and I was thinking it was a true crime. So he did a really good job of that. I kept thinking that this occurred, almost like you want to Google it, find the town and get more information, dig for more answers, see what else there might be out there that wasn't covered in the book. But yeah, I had to keep reminding myself that this actually was a fictionalized tale, and it was great. So in these books, you talk about Richard, his family, and his town. There are some strange events that are happening with some women around town where it's almost like a peeping Tom situation. It starts in that way. And then women start reporting that they see a man in their room, the edge of their bed. So it escalates. And then you have your first victim, which is a young girl who is murdered and posed. Then it continues to escalate with more young girls. And so the town obviously is on edge. There are curfews. And Richard is telling it from his side of this story because he's very, very interested in this. He's documenting it. And so you're kind of questioning who could it be throughout this. Now, at the end of this, you do have the resolution as to who the killer was. I will say that I did kind of guess it. There was something thrown out there early on that I was like, I wonder if that's going to play a part. So I did have my suspicions, and that indeed was the person. I'm going to give this a 4-star. I really enjoyed it, and I had to keep reminding myself that it didn't actually occur, so that's great. In the follow-up, so the second book in what I hope is a series, following after the killer has been caught, and he is only willing to talk to Richard about the killings and if there are other bodies. And that's the only reason Richard tells himself that he is willing to speak with this killer is because he wants to help the families. But the townspeople really question whether or not it is genuine because he did profit from the killings. He wrote a book, went on to be a movie, did very, very well. It is taking care of his family in terms of financially. And so they really think that he profited from these murders. And he struggles with that too. You can tell his internal fight with himself, and his wife kind of questions his motives for wanting to continue. Then you have another body that shows up and Richard is involved. He can't help himself from investigating and he gets involved again. There's questions of a copycat, and then there's questions of could it actually be the original killer, but he's behind bars. All these questions surface, and Richard and his family are dealing with the morality of, does he want to profit from this again? Should he even be involved? So I really enjoyed this. This was also a 4-star. Great start to the year in terms of thrillers. I really enjoyed those two. But we're going to hop back into I guess this would it be a fantasy? I guess it is. So it's a low fantasy set in our world, and it's The Rook. I think I have that correct. Let me know in the comment section down below. I think low fantasy is when it occurs in our world, but there are definitely elements at play. We have the strangest, I think, character name. It's Myfanwy, but it's spelled with a Myfanwy. So nobody could pronounce it, but she goes to great pains to tell us how to pronounce her name. So it's Tiffany with an M, Myfanwy Thomas. And she awakens in a park in London surrounded by dead bodies, with no memory. She has no idea how she got there. If she killed them, she's assuming that she did. She has no idea how. She doesn't know what to do. All she knows is she has to get out of there. So she takes off. Raining. It's miserable. She's not sure what to do. She does have her clothes on, so that's good. So she looks through her pockets to find out, like, hey, is there anything in here that tells me who I am? And conveniently enough, there's a letter that her former self, when she had her memories, wrote to her, told her what was going to happen, that she was going to lose her memory, how she knew that, and gave her additional details. And then she is given the choice as to whether or not she wants to start her life over, be anonymous, live very well. Her former self set her up with a new identity, money, all of those things, or if she wants to determine what is going on. So that's what this book is about. It's very quirky. There are a lot of different characters in here that are not necessarily human or don't have human properties. It's very quirky, very interesting, and I wasn't sure what to think about it. I did soft DNF this. I think it was, I want to say early last year. I did pick it up again because it was kind of calling my name, and I'm going to give it a 4-star. This is kind of I would say it's kind of spy fiction in a fantasy realm, and I'm going to add the second book in the series to my TBR. I might pick it up from my library just in case, because it's very interesting. I feel like I have to be in the right mood for it. It has to be, I have to be in the mood for like quirky spy, but it was fun. It was a good start to the year. And again, I'm giving it a 4-star. Staying with the spy fiction, which I really on a kick with. But I always love spy fiction. And so I wanted, after The Rook, I thought I need to pick up something that is truly spy or felt like a spy. Alias Emma here by Ava Glass tells us about our secret agent Emma here, who is new to the job, who has kind of been embedded in a climate activist group. They kind of think they might be climate terrorists. So she's working there undercover, bored to tears, and starting off her career in that way. And she gets a frantic call that summons her to headquarters, where they give her a new assignment. She's supposed to try to recruit someone that needs to go into the witness protection program. His family has already been pulled off the streets, basically put in witness protection from the Russian government, and he is a holdout. He is a doctor, doesn't want to leave his patients. He's an oncology physician, doesn't want to leave his young patients. He doesn't believe the threats are real, that they're not out for him. It was about his parents. He doesn't take it very seriously. A lot of other people have tried to recruit him. He's not listening. So they send Emma, because she's young, pretty, and they think maybe she can do it, where other people have really failed. She ends up chasing him. It's kind of interesting. She ends up chasing him and sees a couple of agents that are out to kill him, and they go on the run. So basically this entire thing is the two of them on the run from anybody that might be out to kill him and to get back at his family, and she doesn't know who to trust. She ends up finding out that there are multiple agencies trying to get both of them, and she can't figure out why. She's relatively new, so she doesn't have a huge list of contacts as to who she can trust or bring in. I really enjoyed this. This was very fast-paced. I don't know. I'm assuming this is a series. I'll have to look into it. I would definitely pick up the second book in the series if there was one. I'm going to say another 4-star, and we're off to a great start in the year, and we have one left. The last one here is I'm Not Done With You Yet by Jessie Q. Santanto. Oh my goodness, all of her other books have been quite different from this particular one. She wrote Dial A for Aunties and Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. That's my favorite of all of the books that I have read from her so far. There is a follow-up to that one. Very much looking forward to it. But this one is a thriller. As Audrey from Chapter and Converse likes to say, it is dark and messed up people doing dark and messed up things, for sure. There are a lot of dark and messed up people here in this particular book, and I was here for it. We have Jane, and I call her Talia, but it's spelled like Thalia, but in my head I just kept saying Talia. The two of them were friends, sort of, at Oxford. Jane seems to be very obsessed with Talia and her lifestyle. Jane kind of shows up. She's kind of dressed kind of frumpy, dumpy, has a strained relationship with her mother, seems like she hasn't had a lot of friends. And Talia is the girl that everybody kind of just is drawn to, and she takes Jane under her wing. Jane becomes obsessed with her. It's this whole bizarre friendship of the two of them. Is Talia really getting something out of this friendship, or is she using her? Jane, the same thing. Is she as dark and messed up as she kind of is portrayed? And you see the story unfold. They lose touch. Jane can't, has looked for Talia over the years, never found her on social media, and all of a sudden she pops up with a book signing. And so Jane is determined to go to this event, even though she is a struggling writer herself. She's determined to go meet up with her friend Talia for the first time since their days at Oxford were cut short, and she hasn't been able to touch base with her since. And there's a lot of crazy things that happen. I agree with what had been said. Think Gone Girl. Yes, there are a lot of twists in here. A lot that I didn't see coming. There were a couple that I kind of, you can kind of see a mile away, but there's a lot. There's a lot of things happening here. It's a slow burn in the beginning, and then you might have your mind made up one way or the other, and things just kind of, it's a roller coaster. It's a whole thing. I enjoyed it. Because of that, I would say it's a 4. I don't particularly love the ending, or at least the way things are resolved. And so for that reason, I'm going to give it a 4, but I had a really good time with this. Also, I would rate it this because I'm just surprised at the versatility of this author. She can write anything. I wouldn't be shocked if she came up with a fantasy next, or sci-fi. I mean, it wouldn't shock me. She is an incredible author, and I cannot wait to see what she comes up with next. Those were the 5 books that I read in January. They were all 4 stars. I mean, what are the chances of that? I am still waiting for my first 5-star of the year, but I can't really complain with 4 stars. Those are really good. No favorites yet. But I tend to reserve my 5 stars for the books that are my favorites, that I want to keep on my shelves or purchase if I picked it up from the library. And so I'm waiting for my first 5-star of the year, but I can't complain. These were great. Highly recommend all of them to you if they sound like something you might be interested in. And so I'm excited to continue reading The Will of the Many and the other books on my TBR. Make sure to check out the wrap up at the end of February to see how I did. There'll be more videos upcoming. I have some new ideas for you, so you'll see some things upcoming. I'll be doing some movie reviews in the month of February. A couple of movies that are coming out that I want to review for the channel. Subscribe if you're interested in seeing my book reviews, movie reviews, pop culture, and I hope to see you next time. Bye, everybody.